Good morning.
Wajeeh.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Nance, and if you are seeing me in a in a relatively stable internet, then you are watching Black Man Spy. Day number 32 of the second phase of the U.S.-Iran war. Day number 167 since the United States attacked Iran with Israel on midday Tehran time, February 28th, 2026. We are now 167 days, pushing 6 months into the U.S.-Iran war, which was supposed to go for just 2 to 3 weeks. And then after the first 2 weeks, they said maybe just 2 more weeks. And now we are in a lot further on. And let me introduce our co-host, the man in the tuxedo, looking very James Bond out of Denmarky, is Jacob Karsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire. The only way we would know that is seeing him in the tux, drinking a martini that was shaken, not stirred. And, Jacob, good morning. And
Good morning.
alongside is Wajeeh, the gay lion, in his new, well-produced studio with sexy lighting. Do you have LED lights like all around that room, and then the rest of the room is darkened out, or is that a real backdrop or an internet backdrop? Oh, look at that. Sexy. Well, I'm going to be upgrading too. So, I just wanted to introduce you guys so Jacob could explain to all of us about his sexy tuxedo. Sexy.
Yeah, well, I managed to slip into it. That was a success on its own merits. I was afraid I hadn't worn it for a long time. So that was something new, and I just have to say, the king is a member of the club, but he wasn't there.
Ah, okay. Were you invited as a guest, or now are you part of that club?
No, I was invited as a guest.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't realize Denmark had private clubs, but of course they did. They're part of the
you guys call it country club?
This club has its origins in the 14th century.
Oof.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
You guys are Viking club.
It's called the Plague Club, and it's for all the families that survived.
It's actually
the Black
riflemen, Copenhagen riflemen.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a rifle club.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they actually have a range? Or is it just
it is a bit of a joke, really. But, back in the day, it was riflemen that were protesting German dominance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I looked it up. Is it the Royal Copenhagen Shooting Society?
Yeah.
That's funny, but they have no guns. They're probably on the wall, right? Like in a museum. Right.
There is a gun, but you would laugh if you saw it.
A blunderbuss.
Seriously, honestly.
It's an old blunderbuss. It's a powder musket, one of the earliest muskets out there. Well, they clean up good. Look at you in the little tie.
Yeah, and I mean, there is actually, and I didn't know this before yesterday, there is an expression in Danish that when you're really, really fortunate, you say, I shot the parrot. And that is because this club has got this thing with, aiming at a parrot. So this goes back hundreds of years where this expression was made in Danish that, if you really shot that parrot, things would be looking up for you.
A parrot. Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. You got to go to you got to go to Latin America and kill parrots.
They have like a parrot.
It's the Monty Python parrot, right?
But the white wine was good. The red wine was good. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
This certainly reminds me of James Bond, to be honest.
Yeah, shooting parrots and drinking wines and all that stuff. Well, very sexy. going on there. I just want to say, thus far, we have people calling in. Can is here from Turkey, and we have people coming in from San Diego. What?
Arkadaş nasılsın?
Who's that?
I'm saying hello in
Oh, in
Turkish.
Turkish, arkadaş. I said, is that his call sign? We're expecting our people from Alaska here in Australia. The people in Australia should be getting their ass to bed because it's nighttime there. But
I mean, the king was there, and actually, our queen is from Australia. So,
Oh, Aussie Queen.
Mary.
There you go.
Yeah, Frederick, our king, picked her up at the Sydney Olympics back in the day.
Oh,
she's from Tasmania. So, to all our Australian
Tasmania is a
viewers,
nice country.
There's a special bond.
Tasmania is very green. That's the one thing that I learned when I was there. Because unfortunately, the only thing I knew prior to moving to Australia when I lived there was that Tasmanian was the Tasmanian devil. And
and they have two beers, one from Launceston and one from Hobart. And, they don't, it's either Bogues or Cascade. And, it's a rivalry,
Okay. Learn something new every day. That's why this is a geopolitical cast. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started because, one, it was a relatively sleepy day, and we're going to go to a lot of the questions early. I unfortunately was up in the middle of the night. I put up my questions, and we already have over 100 comments and questions for this morning. So, and somebody says, hey, did you see the eclipse? I guess not. Yeah. You were doing some drinking. So
no, but they actually had a little break in the session, and then we went outside and watched the eclipse. I didn't bring those, special sunglasses you have to have.
Was it partial or full?
It was partial, yeah.
Yeah. Voila. Okay. Wow. Well, that's very she swank and educated. That the boy, the high society of the Denmark. What's that?
The next eclipse in the U.S. will be around 2045 or something.
Oof. 2045, and it'll probably be overcast because climate change will have destroyed everything since we got rid of solar and wind power. Well, what can you say? It was a relatively slow day in the Middle East. But I want to start with a correction because you have to learn that when you say something wrong, when you make an analysis, my analysis was actually correct. The location was wrong. A week ago, we received a report that there was a drone attack on an oil refinery in Zuwaitina, Libya, which is south of Benghazi, where there is actually an oil point there. And I was like, what the F? Why would they hit Zuwaitina? Well, it turns out that the initial reporting on that was wrong. It was all the time where Jacob said yesterday in Zawiya. Zawiya is on the Tunisian border, right? And so whoever did that went back and deleted their reports that it was Zuitina and corrected them as Zawiya. So even worse, we know that there has been fighting between tribes in that region. And somebody did use 4 drones to blow up the oil refineries in that part of the country. And that alone should still raise your eyebrows. Now, if you point over to Zawiya again on the western side of the country there, Jacob, that is also from Tripoli all the way to the border, right? From Tripoli all the way to the border with Tunisia. That is human smuggling capital of Africa right now. That's where I told you early on, they all came up to Benghazi because Benghazi was liberated very early, but then they all shifted to where that area is there, principally because that is the closest to the Italian mainland and Malta. There is a tiny island there called Lampedusa Island. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt when the population was 45. Okay, because it was just an Italian Coast Guard base with a microscopic village there and an Italian military facility, which I visited. Lampedusa Island is about the size of this room. And however, it is very close to Libya. Case in point, why would people from NSA be at Lampedusa? I don't know. You figure it out. The word is proximity and hearability. So anyway, Lampedusa Island back in the old days as a spy site was, very prosperous. Then, more importantly, it's been since wiped out because you could get on a boat from anywhere, Tripoli, Zawiya, all these little towns in Western Libya, Zoltan, and
Tunisia,
you could go ahead.
Tunisia
Tunisia.
also.
And Tunisia, yeah. Well, Tunisia really cracked down on that shit. But the Libyans, there's nobody there to crack down on it. They,
Nah.
in fact, had people coming and bringing boats in that were made in Egypt and Turkey. How do you like that for profiteering, right? Flying them cheesy, cheap rubber boats made up where they know they will
Business.
kill everybody on board, right? Jerba, yes, Jerba is very close to that too. I've been to Jerba. That's a great vacation island. But uh, um, and also it's close to Malta, although the Maltese are very strict about theirs. But Lampedusa is Italy. And if you got to Lampedusa, you became a humanitarian refugee problem for the Italians. And for a while, the Italians were passing you on to the Italian mainland where you were now in the Schengen zone. That is the borderless border crossings of Europe. And these people were going straight from Italy to France, straight from France all the way to Calais, to the truck stops of Calais. And then depending on what type of tourist you were, some people wanted to go to Germany to get that BMW I keep telling you they all want. Some people were going to Paris, but most were going to Calais to get to England because they were being told there were a lot of jobs in England. And this rumor started that all the Poles had left England because of some visa thing, and that all the Polish workers of England were leaving. Little did they know they were replaced by Romanians. You go to England and you get a job as a waitress, you see a person who's a barista, 99% of the time they're going to be Romanians or Hungarians, but mainly Romanians. But they still went to the Port of Calais, and they would wait there by the thousands to try to illegally cross into England. And this created a dilemma for one of my favorite organizations called the RNLI, which is this group. I might have mentioned this before when I was in England. This is the Royal National Lifeboat Institute. And these are the kind of boats, this little notepad I got from them to raise money for them. But it got so bad in England that people were saying the Royal Lifeboats that go out and rescue people stranded at sea should just let people die and drown. And it split people so much. RNLI lost an enormous amount of its donations because all the little lifeboat stations around England are volunteer, and they're not national, and they raise their money through selling little notebooks and books about how many dogs they rescued and things like that. And a movement started in England to let them drown because they had watched these people come from Libya in boats, and these boats would flip over and they would deliver. This is not a joke, people. The smugglers would designate some guys on the boat to sink the boat as soon as an Italian Navy vessel or a merchant ship would come alongside. And they would take a knife and slice the boat open because they're just inflatable rubber rafts, and you might have 200 or 300 people on them. And then you had to be rescued because you were a stranded mariner. And people died by the tens of thousands coming out of Libya. I'm going to see if I can bring you up a video of this, but the human smuggling out of Libya was amazing because there's no central government. There was no one to stop it. And these smugglers have money like cocaine smugglers have in the United States. They would also try to bring up drugs, right, through Central Africa and places like that that came over from like Cape Verde or someplace like that in West Africa to get drugs
Guinea-Bissau.
into Italy.
Guinea-Bissau
Guinea-Bissau?
was the main focal point for the Colombians to get cocaine through into Africa and up to Europe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from South America over to countries like Guinea-Bissau. That's on West Africa.
Yeah.
You have Senegal, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and small francophone and
Guinea-Bissau is Portuguese, Lusophone.
uh,
Uh-oh.
countries like that where
No.
they got no coast ship from South America and drop it there. Is it Guinea-Bissau is Portuguese. What's the capital of Guinea-Bissau? It's not.
Bissau.
Do you know?
Bissau.
Oh, I know. It's
It's Bissau.
is it Bissau? There's another place. Okay. There's another port I'm thinking of that's there. That's Porto Novo or something like that. And who's Bissau? Thank you guys. But the point is this human smuggling trafficking is the reverse of what it was before. Right?
Yeah.
Slaves out, bring really, really damaged to the countries like Libya, where they can't control it. And people think the Sahara Desert's empty. It's not. Every night, it's full of hundreds and hundreds of trucks that cross it from south to north. What do you say, Jake?
I was just saying, oh no, Malcolm, because your sound was getting bad. But I think you're all good now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
someone
the
was
first.
saying Conakry, and that is Guinea.
Conakry.
That is Guinea. Guinea-Bissau is a separate country. It is a former Portuguese colony. They've been fighting a civil war since forever. And smuggling from Latin America has been a huge problem.
Yep. I'm looking at a video right now that comes from Al Jazeera of a small wood boat, like a dhow. And let me see if I can turn it around and get the video on it. But it came out of Libya. It's you can see it's a tiny dhow, but it had over 100 people on board. That's TRT,
way over the weight limit that it's supposed to carry to begin with.
Yeah, but out of that 100 people, the boat sank and capsized, of course, because that's their job. The smugglers make you capsize the boat. And 70 people were missing. This was just in April. And that occurs almost every day. That many people die every day. And I remember back in the 2012, 2013, they were dying by the hundreds. Bodies would wash up in Malta. Bodies would wash up in Tunisia and places like that. So us talking about Libya, it's important because, now we have, not just smugglers smuggling people. We have a drone war going on. So
did you? So here's a few things. The human trafficking that's done in Libya has directly contributed to the actual slavery market that is actively brewing in Libya. Something that goes way underreported, but when you have a lot of desperate people and you have a vacuum of government, and instead of a government, you have cartels running this human trafficking. Morality is out the window, and people, and your money is stolen, and whether you are delivered there safely or not is not actually their job. Their job is to steal you and use you as a tool so they can even make more money.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. This is the whole purpose of human trafficking. It's about money. And when the Turks allowed those tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of Syrians to come out of Syria, they were doing two things. One, they were making cash off of that. Every one of those lifeboats, every one of those life vests, a Turkish company made with non-intervention of the government of Turkey. And they deliberately allowed those Syrians to go to Europe. And they thought it would also, I mean, Can Merdioglu, if you have anything to say about it, just bring that up. But they also thought we'll destabilize Greece. They're our enemies, right? So
Yeah.
we refer to this as migrant warfare. The Russians do it. They now allow they bring in tens of thousands of sub-Saharan Africans and Indians, and last year they sent them all to the Finnish border and told them to walk across the Finland border in the middle of winter. And you'll get and they say crazy stuff like, oh, when you get there, they'll give you full Social Security, they'll give you a car, they'll give you a phone. All of this is a lie. So
They've tried
immigration
the same
warfare,
through Belarus into Poland. They've tried
they
this.
did that. The Belarusians now have like 4 fences and they will fucking shoot you. The
Back,
Polish,
back,
not the Belarusians,
back
the Polish.
between 2015 to easily 2020, there was a large refugees and asylum seekers that have gotten asylum in European countries and became content creators.
Mhm.
They started like basically creating this blueprint to help anyone and everyone just get out. Like whether it's which corridors you need to go to, who are human traffickers, and then for example, there was one done by Arabs in the U.S. who wanted to cross the borders into Canada to apply for asylum in Canada. And there was a specific part of the borders where you take a couple buses and then you take a taxi, you cross, and then there's an open border between you and the United States and Canada, and they crossed that, and the Canadian government at that time would just accept anyone that would be crossing there and start processing them. So this has become an industry, and people thought that they were helping other people getting escape, and in some ways they were escaping from actual violence. Right? They were
Right.
escaping from ISIS, they were escaping from Al Qaeda, they were escaping from Assad, and all of these things happen when instabilities and insecurities happen, and when we fail to stabilize the Middle East and we intervene and create all of these instabilities, that is just a side effect of all of that.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Let
I
me
agree.
let me just the background, because I was actually heading the Danish intelligence effort back when Gaddafi was still in power, and all this happened over a weekend, and you know how there was riots and stuff going on in Benghazi. We spoke about that the other day,
Right.
and Gaddafi's forces were going to quell the demonstrations. That was back in the day when we'd had, the uprisings in Tunisia, the uprisings in Egypt, the deposing of Mubarak, and also the unrest in Syria started. So, we were, that was about to be committed huge war crimes here in Benghazi, and that is why the Europeans, with the help of the Americans, decided to act against the Gaddafi regime. And
Mhm.
we were warning from the intelligence side. We were saying, you got to realize there's going to be huge problems with a power vacuum
Right.
now that you do it. And they said, no, we'll let the Libyans sort it out and it'll be good as long as we don't get involved on the ground and so on. And we said, no. The extremists there's human smuggling, there's, all these things that are going to end up badly. And I said the other day, we knew about the extremists already beforehand and the traffic that was going on into northern Mali that was already becoming a cancer back then. But they didn't want to act on it. It was, they were afraid of what had been happening in Iraq, etc., etc. So, and that is why it has ended up like this with this decade-long, more than a decade-long civil war and complete chaos in Libya.
Well, I can't. I I can't say that I didn't help contribute to that. But I didn't think the power vacuum would be as strong as it was. And then I didn't realize two, Muslim nations, United Arab Emirates and Egypt and Turkey, would be running a proxy war to take control of the country. Right. And then while they fought, they just let all this happen because they didn't give two F's about this overall. I do want to call attention to something. There was an incident last month in which 60 people died, but it was in an interesting and unusual place. This is Western Libya. I'll use my pen. This is Western Libya. Eastern Libya. This is Tobruk over here, if you can't see it. I will zoom in a little bit more. But the reason I zoomed out is I wanted you to see the Mediterranean Sea. This is right here where it says Salam. That is the Libyan-Egyptian border. That's the Gulf of Salam. That's the village of Salam. The border checkpoint is there. Then you cross over. First place when you cross over into Libya, there is a small snack shop there. It has an entire refrigerator, I'm not joking, of Philadelphia cream cheese. I don't get it. I didn't realize they were Philadelphia cream cheese crazy over there. From Philadelphia, I find that hilarious. So anyway, you take the road over here, you go to Tobruk. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's Tobruk right there. And then if you go around, you go up to a small village. The name of that village, I know this place because I stopped in there. It's Bumba. Bumba. And this small island that's off Bumba is called Albarda Island. Right here.
Yeah.
And the reason that I went up there was I was following the trail of the SAS in World War II. Also, Bumba, MiG-23s out of Bumba, Libya, caused me no amount of consternation in the 1980s. So Bumba is just here. And then further up the road is Derna, where the U.S. Marines landed in 1812. And then you go on up there, it's Tabeida. But this road here that splits down leads you into the Green Mountains, the Jabal Akhdar. But this is Bumba. Right off Bumba is a small island called Al-Barda. And last month, according to the news, 60 people drowned there. And what the human...
Oh, no, not again.
Human traffickers told them was they put you in the boat in Bumba, and then they take you over to once you get to Crete, to the island of Crete. That ain't close. Yep. Okay, that's several hundred miles. The trick is that they bring you to, and they make it look like you're getting on a boat. Breaking up. All right. Is it better? Let me know when it's better.
It's better now.
Wajeeh is back. All right, Wajeeh is back. Anyway, the traffickers trick you into thinking you're getting on a boat. They take your money. Those 70 people drowned off that tiny island within sight of the shore. Most of them were women and children, and 10 men survived. That's it. 10 men out of almost 100 people. This is why human trafficking in Libya is such a big idea. Okay, I'm going to shift next. Somebody says I need closed captions. I'm going to shift next. Somebody that we've gotten a lot of questions about the U.S. Navy and their food and how they are not getting fed. This news article that has led to stress and suicides. I'm going to address that right now because I've got no less than 10 questions. I'm seeing it pop up right now on the scroll down below. When you go out on an aircraft carrier or a warship, a carrier is 6,000 men and women.
That's right.
Right? It's a city. Those 6,000 men and women are working in 4 shifts, 8-hour days. Day, right? 6 p.m. to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., and an extra shift that is always going. It's cycling. And when you're not on shift, you're either sleeping or you're doing study or you're doing maintenance, right? These guys have been doing this nonstop. They had one port visit since they left the United States, right? And that, I'm trying to think of where it was. It might have been Gibraltar. Anyway, they have been at sea nonstop for 240 days with nothing to do. And that gets to you. Longest time that I've been at sea, I want to say, is maybe 150 days. And you've got to feed them 4 times a day. And the midnight meal at 11 p.m. is always sliders, right? It's 2 hamburgers and French fries. Okay. Multiply those meals, 6,000 meal, 18,000 meals at a minimum per day have to be served.
Wow.
Okay. That ship is giant. It's the size of it's an aircraft carrier, but it still has to be replenished at sea. And a lot of the logistics are now having to come from the United States by ship, which takes a month, to Diego Garcia in the South Indian Ocean. I'm going to show you this on the map. From the South Indian Ocean, when I say south, I mean south, near Antarctica. Right about here
Thousands of kilometers. Yeah.
is where Diego Garcia is. By ship, that's 3 days steaming. 3 days to get from here almost at the bottom of the world up to the Indian Ocean. Our food has to be bought that way because it cannot come from, we could fly it to India. It would be insanely expensive. We could have it brought there by vessels, but it all has to move. But it can't move by the hundreds of tons. It's moving by the tens of thousands of tons. And we're only sustaining about 20 warships total, right? And we can't go into the Indian Ocean or the Persian Gulf. We can't go to the Red Sea. Everything's being cut off from us, right? The closest logical, clean supply of food that we would contract would be Singapore or Japan or the Philippines, and we would be taking them from the stocks in Asia. When you're sitting around and the meals go from steak and eggs the first week to sliders for 2, sometimes 3 meals a day, that gets to you. Under constant operation, day and night, that gets to you. There are 2 types of sailors that are threatening, that they're talking about, who have jumped off of ships, right? 2 out of 3 of them 2 out of 6 of them will be deliberate suicides. Because every float, I don't care what ship you're on, someone commits suicide. I was on a submarine. Yeah, Jacob, go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
No, I'm
I have 4 points / news that are just coming out if you are interested.
Is it really breaking or is it like 8 hours old?
Well, did you see that Iran has said that they have killed several U.S. and Israeli intelligence members in Iran? Like they
Save
just
that
shot
thought.
them.
Save
Okay.
that thought. Yeah, I saw about the executions. Well, I want to finish this thing about the sailors because everyone has been asking about the suicides. On every float, you have a suicide. There, 6,000 people for 1 year, you're going to have 2 or 3 suicides. But what we're finding out is that there were 6 attempted suicides. So what they probably haven't told us was there were 2 successful, which happens every cruise, and then 6 attempted. The 6 attempted are cries for help. That's when a person will deliberately go to the edge of the flight deck with people watching, right? And he'll stand there and everybody will go, when you see a person walk to the edge of the deck, you watch them. And they walk over the side. Now, that means man overboard is going to go into effect. On an aircraft carrier, it's very hard to do, but we always keep a plane behind the aircraft carrier called the plane guard. And it's for airplanes that crash and ships that guys that go man overboard. And that ship will swoop up there very quickly. And if that person's not dead, will bring them up. That's a cry for help. It's a cry for stress. We tend to have many more of those on long floats. The difference between this crazy war and Desert Storm, where we had 6 aircraft carriers, 4 of them were in the Persian Gulf, 2 of them were in the Red Sea. All of those ports were open to us. If a guy had mental health problem and he jumped over the side and we rescued him, they know one of 2 things is going to happen. They will survive and they will be immediately flown off the ship and it breaks their cycle of stress, or they will die.
Wow.
And a lot of these are calls for help, So I've seen I can't remember which boat I was on. It might have been the USS Tripoli. Was it the Tripoli? The thing is, suicide is so common that it gets on big boats like this. It gets around to you a couple of days later, unless it's a man overboard. Like we had one boat where a guy hung himself, and it's terrible. But in big ships like that, you have it. On small ships, what we call small boys, there's a reason that 24/7, 365, we keep a person on the back end of the ship who watches the back end of the ship. And at certain times per day, you are allowed to throw the trash off the back end of the ship. There's a guy there with a logbook. He sits there, he logs what division you come from, how many trash bags you have in the trash, and you throw over. Because we listen for splashes in the water, right? And he is there to eyewitness that and to make sure that a ship doesn't collide with us, right? The stern watch. But every float, you hear this, right? Splash on the starboard side, splash on the port side, man overboard, man overboard. See, because we have to assume if you throw your trash off the side of the ship, not the way it was, we have to assume that it's a person jumping in the water. And guess what? It's either some dumbass who's thrown trash over the side wrong, but most of the time it's a man overboard. And the whole fucking world changes when a man goes over the side. Every person on the ship is awakened, and you go to your battle stations, and we fucking count every damn one of you. And then the ship turns hard so that it comes back in its own wake to that exact spot. And we check the water. Everyone is eyes out onto the water. If it's a bag of trash, someone's getting their ass kicked, and they will likely be punished. We don't whip people anymore, but the old days, they used to. So the fact that 6 people went over the side off an aircraft carrier and survived attempts or tried to run. We've seen people run for the end of the flight deck. What do you mean I'm in denial? I'm not in denial. What am I in denial for? He needs a satellite. Oh, he needs satellite. Sorry. So anyway, this is something that is strictly a matter of stress because of how long they went out to sea. And you can blame Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. No other reason. No other reason. Here's a question I have. I said this yesterday. Where are all the other fucking aircraft carriers? If this was a serious war, you would have 4 aircraft carriers out there. And you know what you can do? You can always send one up to fucking Haifa. Right? If that's the cleanest, nicest port that you can get to, great. Right? Or send them off to Singapore. But if you have these ships on station doing combat operations, the high op tempo will kill people. So the food is one thing, but the op tempo, it's insane. Now, in my world, we would loiter in places for very long times. I would borrow I can't speak much about submarine special operations, that and some of the special access programs that I were in. I'm sworn to secrecy forever, but we hang out in places for very, very, very long times. And I had this one chief of the boat, not chief of the boat, the dive officer, who he did not like being shallow. And it was driving him crazy that we were not deep, right? These guys who used to do missions against the Russians and stuff, they'd be super deep and chasing Russian subs. And here's Malcolm, right? Keeping you at periscope depth for weeks. Weeks. And it affects your brain. It affects people. But that's the nature of the game, guys. Okay, so I hope that I've clarified that. I have a dozen questions in the Substack questions about that alone. Okay, Wajeeh, hit us with your news.
So the Iranian intelligence ministry has said 2 members affiliated with the American and Israeli intelligence agencies were killed and 4 were arrested after they tried to infiltrate the country. The Iranian central bank governor says that the country will soon join the new development bank with the BRICS group. The U.S. Envoy to Israel Huckabee has denounced. That's not related to the moment. Um, the U.S. is about to make a mistake. A statement from Iran foreign minister Abbas. He said that the U.S. Is about to make another miscalculation in regards to his failures in the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, well, that's pretty much regular news of Iran for today. Yemen, same thing. Attacks continue in Mocha in Yemen today. Interesting new dynamic has started. The Saudis are using their Bayraktar drones, dropping small rockets at the Yemeni Houthi. Also, the Yemeni army is using very rudimentary Ukrainian-style hand grenade drop drones. So the Houthis yesterday upped the scale. They are using FPV direct attack drones against the Yemeni army and the Saudis. So the Iranians keep those guys one step ahead of the other government. So there's that. Let's go to questions because we do have to end the show a little early today because I'm going to Manhattan. I had some questions that were exclamation pointed. If your question was exclamation pointed in the chat, that means that I wanted to read that on air. Here it is. Oh, will my 9-year-old grandson be asked to don a uniform in 7 years? Nope. I hope not. I really think that we are way overboard on the number of activities, a number of wars. I think 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years without a war would be awesome, wouldn't it? I would like to work on my goddamn garden. I can't with the Trump administration. I'd like to do like Jacob. I'd like to put 25 clicks in on a kayak in the morning. Whee! No chance of it at this point. There's a couple of new acronyms. Guacamole, greedy, uppity assholes causing mass obfuscation and lawlessness everywhere. That's guacamole.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah,
see.
yeah,
You guys are impatient. Somebody goes, "Where's Malcolm today? We were 2 minutes late." Seriously, we're ready. So somebody asked, Linda Whitey asked, Malcolm, do you know the people at Steady State who are ex-CIA and other intelligence community agencies? Yes, I am a member of Steady State. Steve Cash was a guest on Ruth Ben-Ghiat's weekly Substack Zoom last week. Here he is talking about Steady State does. If you guys go onto the Twitter, onto the Substack chat, you can watch that video about Steady State. Okay, hey, just to let you guys know, tomorrow, which is Friday at 12 noon, I am doing a Black Man Spy on YouTube, which will also be um put up in a recording with Mr. Global. Mr. Global is
Nice.
coming on the one-on-one Black Man Spy interview, and I want to get him on here for the morning show. But he's like Wajeeh. He's all shishi and stuff. He's got a producer, and we got to contact these other guys. Not like me and Jacob, where we just roll into the room, get a cup of coffee, and press play.
and have an
Things
old
there.
screen and use a red screwdriver, and yeah.
That's right. Yeah, we have to use pointers and pens and everything. Well, I'm just going to be like projecting images on his show.
Soon, you just wait.
Nobody's got that kind of money. Some guy offered to do it for 5,000 US a day for me. I was like, that's 1.8 million a year, buddy. No one's got that
My,
kind of money.
my
If
friend,
that's the case,
my
I will move to the French Riviera. I will move
my
to
friend,
fucking Port
you see
Hercule in
all of
Monaco.
this.
I could
We
have
only
all
spent
that.
maybe 300. We spent like $300 so far.
Bro, you live in Minnesota. He lives in Copenhagen, and I'm near New York City. You think that's gonna You're lucky that a cow doesn't come walking into your room.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Okay,
Who's
this is
charging
one of the questions I wanted.
$5,000 a day? Well, what are we, like corporations?
It's like if somebody thinks I'm Rachel Maddow or something. That's crazy. That's kooky money. All right, here's one of the questions I wanted to answer. Is the Mecca Pact hedging or substituting for U.S. security guarantees? And what would we observe within 90 days that settles it? Liaison officers posted, named exercises, procurement contracts, joint air defense architecture? That's an excellent question. Is the Mecca agreement just an agreement in name, or are they actually going to start interoperating? Wajeeh, what do you think?
I think it's gonna be in name because they're just projecting. Turkey is not interested in conflict. Pakistan is not interested in conflict. The Saudis and the Gulf states have done the exact same deal last year. Attack on one is an attack on all. No one did shit. The Pakistanis, after they signed the umbrella agreement with the Saudis put a lot of pressure on them. So the Pakistanis, what do? They just put 1,000 troops in Saudi Arabia or a couple thousand troops in Saudi Arabia and moved a couple of his military jets there. This is only projecting. This is only trying to say, puffing a chest. And the Saudis are quite good at that. If the Saudis are good at anything, they're really good at like trying to like assume like come out more bigger than they should be. They always we will have the line, we will have 2030, we will have the cube, we will have dinosaurs, we will have cars flying. Those are actual things that the crown prince have said he wants to achieve.
The dinosaur thing is true.
No, everything I said is true. He said he wants flying cars.
But also, very importantly, and it's a brilliant question, you have to say that the Saudis have no trust at all in Erdogan and the Turks. They see them as, the Muslim Brotherhood and enablers of Hamas and stuff like that. So, at the end of the day, this is a sign of the crisis in the Middle East after what the Trump administration has done. So, they're in a desperate situation just to thump their chest and to show that, we're working it out and stuff. But that's not really what's happening.
That's right.
Okay, next, Derek M. gave us another guacamole definition, acronym. Guacamole means gonna undermine anyone's chance at moving oil literally everywhere. You guys are
Another
really
good one.
working hard on these acronyms. I love that one.
Yeah.
David
And all the green hearts for the guacamole there, the green hearts.
David Okrulika says news outlets are claiming Mujtama Khamenei is near death. Comments? I think even if he's not near death, he is one J-damn bomb away from death. Have you heard anything, Waj?
Yes, there was a video that the Iranian government released. It was a 16-second video of Mujtaba Khamenei sitting in a prayer room filled with some of his advisors and followers. No audio, just visual. You couldn't see all of the right side of his face the whole time. I don't know if that's on purpose or what. But I think that is more evidence of him being alive than Mitch McConnell at the moment.
So they're saying there's a video of him in a room?
Oh yeah, I
That's a
posted it.
video.
Oh,
Yeah, but there was a video that has been checked, and that was before, he actually supposedly came to power. That they posted, where the thing is, if they post a video of him before and pretend it's now, then it's a sign that he's not in good shape.
If that's the
Um,
case, then yes.
look, if
But
I were
is
if I
it this
were
video?
if I were Mujtaba, I'd be fucking with the Americans left and right. Right? I would have
I would
35
volunteer.
Mujtaba copies walking all around Iran with security. I would have half of them in a hospital sending photographs and reports that I'm near death, right? The other half,
uh,
of him walking around on the street pointing at American airplanes.
Are you
I
talking
would make
about this
them so
video?
paranoid. Yes, I've seen that. I'm looking at it right now. I think this is old.
mm,
I think that's old, that video,
yeah.
because look, for a guy that was in the room with direct blast effect of multiple 2,000-pound bombs, he's a little too lively for my taste. I think that I don't care whether you were there or not, you're going to get blast effect.
Yeah.
You're going to survive or you're not going to survive. You're going to be wounded. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
That's
Yeah,
the report
exactly.
from the Iranian official news. I was just reporting on that.
Okay.
Exactly. And that is because, he's most likely in bad shape that they put old stuff like that out.
It would actually help
Either
him.
whether he's in good or bad shape, and releasing any video of the supreme leader, I believe, uh, even if he's alive, is a bad idea at this point. Because for some reason, the Israelis and the Americans have been like really been good at finding the supreme leaders and members of the intelligence. Why leak anything? Why
That's
why
true.
make why give them why show them your cards, right?
The
Yeah.
easiest way to this is nothing that the Iranians don't know. The easiest way to find you, right, is when your phone disappears. Track your phone consistently, and then when it gets shut off or put in a Faraday bag and 5 or 10 generals' phones all disappear in the same circle, that's where the bomb goes. So, of course, he knows that. I'm telling you, Iranians are actually very intelligent people. They have one of the highest education rates in the Middle East. And I have no idea why people in the West, especially this White House, think they're stupid. We're going to talk about this tomorrow, which is the plane plot. All these people are like, oh my God, they knew which floor Trump was on at such and such hotel. Well, that's fucking easy to find out, right? The entire floor is booked out. The waiters know, the busboys know, the Uber drivers. It's in Turkey. Every taxi driver in Turkey knows everything. Right? Can come and validate that for me. We got a guy here in Istanbul. Those guys know everything, especially when 50 Americans move into a hotel and secure an entire floor. I wonder who's staying there. Just crazy. We have a blind spot to other people being intelligent. All right, guys, listen, we have to cut the show early. For those of you who are deeply worried about my internet connection, experts are coming. It turns out the fiber optic to this house is outstanding. We are now trying to figure out what's going on from the fiber optic box up to the laptop and the rest. So we'll get that worked out. And I'm going into Manhattan. If anything emergency, Can from Istanbul says they know everything. Taxi drivers.
They know
They know everything. Yes. So we will get this all worked out. But hey, listen, thank you for supporting this podcast. This is still the number 10 global news podcast on Substack, which is a big double thumbs up since Al Jazeera's on that list. So, people, you are coming to get the best information. And now you've learned something about human smuggling. You've learned something about Libyan geography and Turkish taxi drivers, all of which is intelligence you might not have known before you watch this show. And this is what we do. We share information to make you smarter. Let's hope this war is going to be ending soon so we can all have a day off. So thank you for watching today's...
Our accounts are all under attack. Our accounts on YouTube are all under attack, specifically mine. I just got another strike for a video where me and Jacob just said you have to understand your enemy to defeat them.
What? Khalas.
I got a strike. I literally my channel got a strike.
All right.
Jacob,
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm on in 4 hours about the attempted strike in Leipzig at the airport there, and about air defense, the situation in Ukraine with regard to ballistic missile threat, and then also about what's going on in Ukraine right now. That is in 4 hours for paid subscribers, Q&A. And Malcolm is gone again, or is he there?
Well, can you hear us, Malcolm? Can you hear us? No?
Yeah, I hear you guys. Go ahead. Yeah, there's a big gap here. All right, see you all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.